All right, today we're tackling a big one. We're diving into a guide from cybersecurity pro Josh Madakor that lays out exactly how to land a job in this field, even if you're starting with a completely blank slate. He's created a roadmap that really gets to the heart of the biggest challenge for any newcomer.
And this really is the classic chicken and egg problem, isn't it? You need the experience to get the job, but you need a job to get any experience. It's without a doubt the #1 hurdle for pretty much anyone trying to break into the industry.
But here's the thing. What if you didn't have to wait for someone to give you experience? What if you could just create your own? That is exactly what this 7-step framework is all about. It's a roadmap for building the skills, the projects, and the kind of profile that actually gets you hired.
So first things first, before you do anything else, you've got to start thinking and talking like you're already in the field. This first step is all about just absorbing the culture, the language and the general vibe of the cybersecurity world.
And this tiered approach is just brilliant. Look, at a bare minimum, you start as an observer. A podcast like Darknet Diaries tells incredible stories and opens your mind. Then you level up to participant. Adding a daily news source like CyberWire, this is where you start subconsciously picking up the jargon. You hear terms like APTs or IOCs over and over. Hearing them in context is so valuable for interviews later. And for the real enthusiasts, following key accounts on Twitter gives you that real-time breaking info. You're not just listening anymore, you're building your cybersecurity vocabulary.
Okay, so once that immersion is happening in the background, it's time to lay down a really solid technical foundation. You just can't secure a network if you don't fundamentally understand how it works, right? So this means we're diving into IT, security fundamentals, and yeah, even a little bit of programming.
And here, we've got a much smarter, more efficient way to do it. The old way was, go out and collect all 3 of these certs, the A+, the Network+, the Security+. The smart way? Study the material for all 3 because that knowledge is absolutely crucial, but only actually sit for the Security+ exam. It's the one that gives you the most bang for your buck and really matters in the security world.
And this is a huge one. Do not shy away from code. Seriously, even basic Python skills are going to give you a massive advantage. You don't need to become a full-blown software developer. Just follow a free course online, build a simple little tool like a port scanner, and then push it to your GitHub profile. That becomes a tangible project you can literally link to from your resume, and it just screams initiative to hiring managers.
All right, you've got the theory down. Now we're getting to what is probably the single most important part of this whole process, actually creating your own hands-on experience. This is the step that takes you from being just another applicant to being a real candidate.
And so the recommended approach here is to start with an offensive mindset. Now, why would you do that? Well, it's simple. When you learn to think like an attacker, when you learn to probe for weaknesses and exploit vulnerabilities, you gain this incredibly deep intuition for why the defensive stuff is so important. You finally understand why patching is critical because you've just exploited an unpatched system yourself.
So here's your action plan. Tier 1 is, it's basically required. Work through the training for the eJPT certification, practice your skills on platforms like Hack the Box, and, this is critical, document your work. A blog post or a quick YouTube video walking through how you solved a machine. That is concrete proof of your skills. Then, if you want to go a step further, a higher-level cert like the OSCP or CISSP can act like an HR bypass. It gets your resume right past those initial filters and into the hands of a real person. So, you've built up the skills. You've created your own experience. Now it is time to package it all up and sell it. Step 4 is all about marketing yourself, and that starts with getting your resume and your online profiles looking sharp. Just think of this as your digital polish checklist, okay? First, get all those new certs, your projects, and your GitHub link right onto your resume. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is 100% complete. Then, start connecting with people in the industry, not to ask for a job, just to build your network and learn. And finally, get that profile active on at least one other major job board, like Indeed. All right, your profile is polished, your experience is created, the engine is ready to go. It's officially time to launch the job hunt.
So what's with this number, 25%? This might just be the most empowering, most important rule in this entire process.
It's called the 25% rule, and it means this. If you meet just a quarter, 1/4 of the requirements listed in a job description, you should apply for it. Seriously, job descriptions are wish lists. They're not checklists of hard requirements. Companies want to hire smart people who can learn and grow.
And your resume, full of those projects you created, proves you're exactly that person.
Now let's talk strategy for a second. Apply for both entry-level IT jobs and cybersecurity jobs. Landing a general IT role is a fantastic way to get your foot in the door, because pretty much all IT has a security element to it. And also, try to be flexible. If you're open to remote work or maybe even relocating, you will exponentially increase your opportunities. It just opens up so many more doors.
So, you're getting callbacks. This is great. Now what? Well, now it's time to prep for the interview. And this isn't about memorizing answers. It's about practicing how to talk about your value, clearly and with confidence.
And the single most effective tip for this is actually super simple. Find some common interview questions online and practice answering them out loud. I mean it. Walk around your room and actually speak the words. It builds a kind of muscle memory for explaining your thoughts, so you'll be way more fluent and way less nervous when it really counts.
And finally, we've arrived at step 7. This is the one that's described as the most powerful step of all, but it's also optional, and it's networking. Don't worry, it is not as scary as it might sound.
Let's just demystify this whole thing. Networking is just connecting with other humans. That's it. A really easy way to start is to find people on LinkedIn who have the job you want someday. Send them a polite message and offer to buy them a coffee. For 15 minutes of their time on a quick Zoom call just to ask for their advice. It's super low pressure, and it's a great way to learn and make a real connection.
So, after you've gone through all these steps, what does it all look like? What's the end result? What does a resume with no traditional experience actually look like on paper? Let's break it down.
This is how it all comes together. Under certifications, you list what you've earned and what you're working on. But the experience section, that's the real game changer. It isn't a list of paid jobs. It is your self-generated experience. This is where you put your GitHub, you link to your blog, your project walkthroughs. This is real, verifiable proof that you can do the work. And that is incredibly valuable. And when you really think about it, this entire framework really just boils down to one single powerful idea. Experience is not something you just sit around and wait for someone to give you. It's something you go out and create for yourself.
This whole guide proves that the path is there. The tools are out there, and so many of them are completely free. So really, the only question left is the one you have to answer for yourself. So, what experience are you going to create first?